Welcome everyone to 7 Minutes or Less, talking about the shows you love and want to get into. Today we will be talking about Outlander Season 2. Outlander is one of those shows that you can speak so fondly about due to its level of detail, care over its characters, and stylistic choices on how to tell its story. It's quite marvelous to behold, especially when a concept like this, a woman out of time in a period that she doesn't belong to, is suddenly making her way, making the best of everything, keeping everything together by sheer motivation and determination, is usually a concept of quite the opposite. The opposite being, instead of a female in this well-crafted series, we are prone to a male set back in time. With that, the male is usually ignorant to the ways he is sent back in time to and takes the duration of a movie, not a TV show, to understand the ways and learn a lesson. Usually in a comedic type style, science fiction comedy to be precise. I cannot tell you how amazed and into this show I am. It all started with a friend recommending it to me, and then when I moved to Arizona, the show and the books became a huge part of my life, in so many ways more than one. A very interesting story to say the least. One I would love to share one day. But as all things are, I must remain focused and tell you that Outlander Season 2 picks up where the first season left off. In our current circumstance, Jamie and Clara set sail off to France in the year of 1744 with hopes to foil the Jacobite rebellion, as it was going to lead to one of the most bloodiest battles and the end of the Jacobites. All while Claire carries Jamie's unborn child, while Jamie takes what opportunity he can in France to gain allies alongside with Martha, who accompanies him in this journey. The story has more to it, but none that I can divulge into without spoilers. But this show takes a turn in tone just enough to show Jamie and Claire in a new place, new aspect, with new personal goals, all while continuing one that was established in the first season. France holds new lifestyles for our characters, so instead of kilts and loose-peppered white, grungy shirts that have seen the ground many times over, it's corsets, wine, sex, parties, and negotiating topics of politics and scheming behind closed doors. Personally, though, Jamie is traumatized, and for good reasons, from the events of the last season's finale, where things start to become very strained between him and Claire. Throughout this time, Claire herself adapts to the custom of France while she starts piecing things together, like lineages, making new friendships, and forewarning Jamie of what is to come based off of what she knows from the future. This is all well and done for the most part, and we follow our characters through each episode dealing with the stresses of passionate people who want to uprise a war, making enemies due to misunderstandings, outbreaks of diseases, and shifting the pieces of people who get involved, all lead to some very lovely storytelling and entertaining to the highest degree. However, with all that, I found myself sort of having a rough time attaching to the first half of these 13 episodes. Maybe it was because of our characters adapting to a new lifestyle they now had, which was almost completely out of character for themselves. They too even address it, saying they don't quite feel like themselves. Apart from the clothing, the general talks of what's to come and how they need to go about things to prevent the Battle of Culloden, we are given some surprising twists and turns that yet again lead to some heavy-handed moments that are extremely hard to watch. About midway within the season, Claire, played by Katrina Balfe, has the most compelling, if not hard to watch, performance she has ever done. This puts Jamie's character under a heavier, darker limelight as well, giving Sam Heughan a one memorable performance within these very desperate times in the story. If you watched my first 2 episodes of the Outlander review, then you come to understand that topics such as rape and various other taboo topics are not shied away from. It becomes quite the norm in this season, but it's never insensitively placed just to have shock value. In fact, one instance in a certain someone who I loathe with every fiber of my being comes back and causes a whirlwind of devastation in such a short time frame. The way they place Blackjack Randall is not only just brilliant, it's clever, and it's a way to keep him involved with such very little screen time. You would almost have to consider him the Joker in these circumstances. You don't think much of him at first until you see what he's capable of. Once you do, he takes over the story either briefly or in a prolonged period, and you can just only wish that he would go away. But instead, he reforms the story in such a way where everything, including Claire and Jamie, have to deal with the imbalance that Black Jack Randall caused. When these characters finally return to Scotland, we are thrusted back to old characters, but the politics don't stop from one location to another. That aspect stays constant as Jamie is forced to support the rebellion, as history has the same plans it always had despite Claire and Jamie's efforts to change it. Beyond Jamie and Claire, the supporting characters get their time to shine. They add some lighthearted elements, ground the characters, and provide new growth within themselves and prop up our main characters with some disastrous results. It's almost like by the end of the show, everyone believed it was time to give the season a clean slate. It was almost off-putting, but it was only natural considering when some of these characters come about, you could almost see where their journey was headed. It's not without consequence, and certainly not without the brutality of war. This show keeps me glued to my seat, always wanting to find out more, and then rips my heart out as a reward. I feel like a masochist, but at the same time, I am a sucker for good storytelling. This season is just as good as the first, minus sometimes, very limited mind you, hard to follow story with the reliance of who this person is, what that person wants, and what they will do to get it. That's really not a bad thing, it's just hard to follow at points, but it does clear up in the end. I'm gonna give Outlander Season 2 an A. Alright guys and gals, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing Outlander and found my review interesting enough or informative enough, give me a like, maybe a share, and if you would be so gracious to help me out, subbing would make all the difference. If you're new to my channel, check out what I've got. I create all sorts of stuff from TV shows and movie reviews, and the ones that come together and make a universe. Your support means everything to me, and just by that alone, I'll get you more reviews in the future.